Hey everyone, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching. Behind me is something that, number one, y'all haven't seen on the channel ever before. Number two, I've never fixed one of these before, but I think we're going to be able to fix it today. This is a Stingray boat. It's got the 3-liter Mercury 4-cylinder. I believe it'd be an inboard engine because it's not attached to the back. It's been sitting up since 2013. It's my impression that it was winterized at that point in time. Guy that I do a lot of work for, that's a customer, said, hey, you want to try a boat? The marine shops are 6 months backed up. And I said, I mean, I can give it a shot. It's not too much different than a lawnmower, right? There's some aspects that are different, but these aspects hopefully aren't going to be that much different because I've determined so far, I have torn it apart already. Looks like it needs a fuel pump and it needed a carburetor. I might have been able to save the carburetor that was on it, but with it being set up for 8 years, probably a bunch of varnish and stuff. I know there's a bunch of varnish in the fuel pump, and the carburetor was extremely corroded, and so I didn't even want to bother trying with any of that. I also need to put a fuel sending unit in as well for the gas gauge. So I've got those 3 things going on. I've already taken the fuel pump off. I'm about to take the carburetor off and swapping out the fuel sending unit too. So hope y'all enjoy this video, a little bit different than the norm. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Ellis at ellismowers.com or at ellismowers09 on Instagram and Facebook. The one thing I'm looking forward to is getting this boat out of my driveway. It is huge. It's like 18 to 20 feet long and kind of messing up my parking area. So let's go ahead and get in the boat. I'll show you what's going on and we'll get started on this thing. Alright y'all, and we're going to take a look at this thing. Like I said, it's been sitting up since 2013. He did a favor and went ahead and drained all the old gas out and put fresh gas in, so that's awesome. So I think we're okay on that. I've checked the fluids and stuff. They seem okay. He does want me to do an oil change and change out the spark plugs on it, which, I mean, that's a pretty standard issue, I would think, for one of these. But, I mean, looking at it for me was a little intimidating at first until I figured out what everything was going on here. You've got your fuel filler hose coming down through here into the tank. Then you have your outlet line that goes up to the fuel pump, which goes in right there. That is a hard fuel line that goes up and over to the carburetor. And so really and truthfully, it's not that much to remove after you get all the covers and stuff out of here. So this boat only has 133 hours on it, by the way. So it has not been used very much. I have a feeling that sometimes that's going to be the case with these boats. Low hours. But you can see I had to get a bunch of covers and stuff off to get it to where it'll work. Let me get the air cleaner off. I've already taken the screw off and it's just been chilling here for a while. You can just see that I just determined, let's just put another carburetor on this thing, because you can see all the corrosion, and that's even after I sprayed some out of it. It was actually so corroded that the butterfly right here for the throttle was at not messed up, but frozen, and so it wouldn't even get gas down in there for it to hit off. I barely did get enough down there, and I could hear it trying to hit off on me, and so that was enough for me to say, hey, let's go ahead and do the fuel system. It wasn't even getting any fuel. It wasn't pumping anything out of the fuel pump. It's a mechanical fuel pump, but it's sitting there over there on the bench, and I could just see varnish all up in it, and so I'm sure the diaphragms are shot. Now, let me grab the fuel pump out of the box. We'll go ahead and put that on while we're up here, and then we'll go on and mess with this carburetor, which hopefully shouldn't be that difficult, because it looks like I've got 4 bolts and a gasket that I need to get off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've already taken the throttle linkage off, which is right there, and I want to say that that was about it. I don't know if this I think that was about it. Yeah, that's the fuel bowl over there, so that comes on the fuel pump. I don't know, I can't remember exactly how this choke linkage works, but we're gonna figure that out too. So that's we got a couple things to figure out, but nothing crazy. Let me get started. Let me get the fuel pump out and we'll do that. Alright guys, so I've gotten the new fuel pump on. Fairly easy overall. What you got to do is you just have to take these two bolts off right here. Take your fuel line off your inlet and your outlet. And then you can take this breather vapor hose off. And you should be good to go after that. And then just do the reverse process. This one actually, the one that I had the fuel pump inlet and outlet on the same side. This one, the inlet is on this side, and I just had to shorten the hose up a little bit. So it's on there. It looks like I'm going to have to replace this line. I think I've got one here that I can replace it with, hopefully. But for the time being, we're going to go ahead and move on to the carburetor. I think we've got basically everything off that we need to get off for the carburetor. This line right here will need to go. We've already gotten the fuel line off. There's a ground that you have to take out of this screw right here and then unplug from right here. That all comes in the new carb assembly. So I wonder if this is like an electronic choke. Not completely sure, but you can see the corrosion down up in there. So I kind of tried to take off some stuff just to see what it looked like. I'm going to take the carburetor out, but what I need to do first is get, it looks like either 7/16 or 1/2 inch. They're painted too, to get those nuts off. And once we get that going, we'll be good. So let me go ahead and start working on that. Alright guys, the carburetor is off. One of the studs came out, but the rest, just the nuts came out, which is good. New carburetor is right here. I gotta put the gasket and stuff on. Man, I've scraped the mess out of this gasket right here, and that's probably about as good as I can get, unfortunately. But I did have to change the throttle linkage on this because it was just easier to do that as opposed to try and adapt the other one, because it didn't have this piece on it, and I didn't want to knock this piece out and mess it up. So I just swapped the linkage over, this whole pivot piece over for the linkage. And that's what we're going to do. So the carburetor comes with gaskets. The one that we're going to use is this one right here. And I just have to make sure what side it goes on. But it's going to go like that for the 2-barrel. And it's just going to fall in like so right here. Just trying to make sure. I think it'll be fine going this way. And let's see what we've got. I think it goes the other way actually. Does it? It might, but you're going to put that gasket on, and then we can put this carburetor on and hook it back up. I am going to replace this line right here because it is done in terms of brittleness and all that stuff. So let me work on that, and we might be at the point where I can hook some water up and try and start this thing up here in a little bit. Choke wise, this must be like an electronic choke because it's got that ground wire on it and that solenoid, and I don't have a linkage to where the choke hooks up to the throttle. So I'm wondering if that electrical, if there's like a temp sensor or something that adjusts the choke electronically and opens it up as the boat gets warm. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, let me work on this. We're going to start it up. And I also need to replace that sensor there too, the fuel level sensor. So I'll be back with y'all when I'm ready to start this thing up. One thing I want to add, when you put this carb on, there's a thicker gasket that goes under that thinner gasket that I had. So just be mindful of that as well. So that's on. I'm just going to attach the 7/16 inch nuts and bolts and stuff, and we'll be ready to roll on this thing. Shouldn't be too much after this, honestly. Alright guys, everything's put back together. In addition, I put a new one of those lines on to the fuel pump, and I've put the wires back on to the, I guess it's an electronic choke is what I could guess. Probably tied to a temperature sensor or something along those lines. And so I think, let me hook up the muffs and we'll be ready to roll here, I think, before long. One thing that this came with that I didn't realize is it came with one of these, and it also came with one of those that I could swap out. But I mean, OEM parts, if I could put a couple of the original things on there, it ain't gonna kill anything, and it's working properly. I checked the throttle and all that good stuff. So let me get some ear muffs on this thing, hook it up to some water, see if we can pull some gas up into this thing and crank it up. I have filled the gas back up that was in it. It was good gas because he already drained the tank for me and all that good stuff. So hopefully this will work, and then we'll just have to put some spark plugs and change the oil in it, put it all back together. Alright guys, I got the muffs on. I'm just going to put y'all back here as I try and crank it. It's probably going to take about 15 seconds of cranking before it'll pull enough gas up in there. I hope it runs. We'll see. Tried to go there. This means it is getting some gas, I guess. Alright, we got it to where it'll hit off at least, so let me get the air cleaner off and spray some carb spray in it and see if I can get it going. Alright guys, let's try some starting fluid. It is getting gas up in there, so. See if it'll at least kick over this time. Really wants to. I can hear it. It's just not. So dang close though. Really wants to. almost like it's got a safety or something on it. It's trying to crank, but it won't. But it's a mechanical fuel pump, so it's not like it's... Huh. Try putting the air filter back on it real quick and see. Shouldn't make that much of a difference, I wouldn't think. Let me adjust the air fuel mix and see if I can get it going. All right, let's try this again. Run out of battery. Alright, I'm going to pull the plugs and stuff to look at it because we're really close. It'll try and go, but it won't go fully, which means that I need to do a little bit of adjustments or maybe a jet swapper. I'm not sure yet, but we're going to look a little bit. Guys, if you had a keen eye, you would have noticed that the alternator pulley wasn't turning. So I got that freed up. It's just rust welded. Got the battery charger on it, and it's working. And I can get it to turn over. It's really trying, guys. It's really, really trying. It's almost like the idle's too low too. So I'm gonna, let's see. See if I can adjust the idle a little bit. That's crazy. That mess is so close. Wonder if I could adjust the... Guys, this is almost like a an experiment for me because I'm not sure. Open that up a little bit if I can get it to run rich at all. Oh, she's trying. She really wants to. All right. I want to get this thing on camera, so hang with me. That's way out there, but... Golly. so dang close. Maybe I need to pull the idle up a little bit. I'm not sure. That's pretty far out there. No. Dang, guys. Maybe the idle's too low. Let me let this battery recover a little bit and we'll see. I'll adjust the idle a little bit right here on the idle arm, see if that helps any. Alright guys, so I adjusted the throttle here to where I've got the butterfly just barely open now. So I'm wondering if that was what it was that it wasn't getting any gas through the butterfly because it was completely shut. We'll see. I've got the water running. Let's try this again. Thank y'all for learning along with me here, guys, because this is a first for me. So I hope y'all understand that, like, I don't do this every day, and y'all are learning right along with me. So I hope y'all have enjoyed it. Let's see if it'll start now. So it did. I don't know if that's the usual RPM or not, but we did get it running right there. I might have to back off of it just a little bit for the idle. I don't know exactly how to do that, but let me just see if I can figure that out. Let me see if I can start it again though. Sounds like it's running like 3,500 RPM, so that's a little bit too high. Let me work on it a little bit more here, guys. Oh yeah, no, runs good. The throttle was getting stuck because there was a collar in here, and that collar was rusting. The collar ended up deciding it wanted to go somewhere over there, and so I just put it back together, and well, I'll let y'all hear it rev. It's idling at like 800 RPM, so that's right on the money. That's fantastic. Let me go get the items to tune this thing up, so that way it'll cool off. We'll see if we can do a cold start and all that good stuff on it. And then we'll swap out the fuel sender as well. Alright guys, it is the next day. I had this thing running for quite a few minutes yesterday. One thing I wanted to do is see if I could get it to cold start today before I send it back to the customer. So let's see if I can get it to start. I had to learn maybe a couple of tricks to get it to go, but we'll see if I can get it here. Let me get a wrench and adjust the throttle one more time. Man, I can't figure this thing out. It's like, am I not giving it enough gas when it's trying to start, you know? So because It only starts with the idle throttle, so let's see. I cannot figure it out. It just will not cold start. Let me pop open the throttle a little bit and see if I can get it to go. Man, I was trying to get this thing to run. I forgot to film it for y'all. What I ended up having to do, it started on its own. I backed the screw all the way in right there. I think I was flooding it out trying to start it. So that didn't help. And he told me to adjust the trim all the way down. On this, it doesn't really make a difference because, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is an inboard engine. So the trim's not directly related to fuel delivery or anything. But it seems to run good. It idles a little bit higher than I would think it would, but I don't want to go any lower because you can't start it off of idle. And I don't want these guys having trouble cold starting this thing, but it'll run good. Sometimes it's a little slow to come off, but it's like, how do I adjust it to where it's not gonna, you know, flood out every time I try and start it? So that's probably as good as I can personally get it. Got to give it some gas to idle down, so I don't know if that's typical for a boat, like I said, or if they got a throttle cable that's kind of stuck. But like, I would like for it to idle down about 200 RPM more than that. I'm not sure, guys. I would love for y'all to tell me what y'all think. I know this video will be gone, this boat will be gone by the time I publish this, but I would love to know a little bit more about boats, honestly. So if anybody's got some advice, just feel free to let me know. One other error that I made is I didn't realize that sending units had differences. So we've got almost an empty tank and it's reading full. Apparently there's a European and an American style for this. I'm just gonna tell them, just think the opposite, because honestly, if somebody's gonna quiver over a $20 fuel sender, they don't need to be buying this boat anyways. Kind of cool though, first boat done. I think we're gonna wrap this video up. I'll tell them that it's ready. I'll put all this stuff back together, wrap this up for y'all. All right guys, so that is the finish of the boat repair. Let me know how y'all think I did. Like I said, I just have zero familiarity with boats. He asked me, he said, you wanna work on a boat? He said, the marine shops are about 6 months backed up. I was like, just bring it by, we'll see what it needs. And all it needed was the that carburetor and fuel pump, which I mean I knocked out in basically a day. First time ever doing a Mercury 3-liter. So let me know what you think. Is there something that I missed? I just, you know, you look on forums and stuff and you think you can get most of what you can do, but there may be some things I missed. I would love to hear y'all's feedback on how you think I did. First boat, like I said. Ideally, if it were my boat, I'd also replace all 3 of those pulleys. The belts didn't look cracked or anything, but those pulleys had a little bit of rust on them. And that alternator pulley, like I mentioned to y'all, was actually rust welded. I freed it up. It's not showing. Anytime I rev it up, I don't really feel like revving it up for long periods of time without it being in the water, because I know that water pumps can be kind of touchy if you do that. But it's not freezing up or anything anymore, and it's charging the battery. I mean, after I had that issue with the battery getting low yesterday and just threw a little bit of quick charge to it, I haven't had a problem with it charging since. So I know that it's working. But yeah, so what? Carburetor, fuel sender. I also learned something about the fuel sender. I didn't realize there were two different types. Why would you make one that goes from 0 ohms to 300 ohms and one that goes from 300 to 0? And I didn't know what this one was. I could have tested that, but hindsight's 20/20, and I didn't know. So that's going to be the only other thing. Small things in reality, though. I think cold starting it, I had the air fuel mix too rich, and it was choking it out. And so when I backed that air fuel screw in, it cranked up, started running. It had a little bit of choke thump going on with it. I backed it off maybe about a turn to a turn and a half. I think 2 turns is ideal. But I want this thing to cold start for somebody, because I don't want them having to deal with it while they have it out on the water or anything. That's the last thing. It's a lot different than a lawnmower. If you're stranded on the water, you can't just call it a day and pop back in your house, if you know what I mean. You're on the water. I haven't had any problems with it cutting out while it's running. I've just had the issue with it trying to cold start. And I looked on forums to see if I had any better way to do it, and they're just like, yeah, air fuel trim. Make sure your trim is down too. I think that's more for outboards, not inboards. But I did that, and like I said, I got it to start on its own this time, which is the first time I have been able to do that. So hopefully it'll stay like that, and hopefully the customer will be happy. I know he's going to make a lot of money on this boat, because I was told that he got it for a really, really good deal, and he flips stuff. He flips everything, guys. He doesn't do just lawnmowers. So he brings me a little bit of business. I don't encroach on him picking things up, because I get enough of my own. I don't need to be making enemies here. He's a great guy, and he's just out to younger than I am. He's just out to make money and make a living, just like we all are. So thank you all again for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this boat video. Who knows, there may be more to come. I've got a scooter back there in the back too. So we're expanding our horizons here on Ellis Mowers. I might have to call it Ellis Mowers and More one day. We'll see. But hope you all enjoyed this video. Again, if you have anything else that I missed, or any feedback on working on boats, I really do appreciate the feedback. I am not perfect, nor do I claim to be perfect, all right? So thank you all again. If you have any questions about this video, you can reach out to me, Ellis@ellismowers.com, or at ellismowers09 on Instagram and Facebook. And hopefully we've brought a boat that's been not registered for 9 years back on the water, hopefully. Take care, guys. I'll see you on the next one.